Hello. This is Antya from Byte Shuffle. Thank you for always watching our videos. This time, I've put together a breakdown on how to navigate the Epic Gamble matchup when playing Doomsday, including my thoughts on sideboarding. There's also a link to the pile breakdown video in the description, so feel free to check it out. Here is the deck list we will be using this time. I'll keep this hand since it has draw spells, lands, and disruption. Surveil's effect leaves it on top of the library. I'll counter it with Force of Will. Surveil's effect sends it to the graveyard. And this is where the adventure comes to an end. Before sideboarding, I'd like to review the list we used. First, the conclusion. I will explain it step by step. First, let's take a look at how the Epic Gamble deck operates. They start by playing mana artifacts like Lotus Petal, Lion's Eye Diamond, Mox Opal, and Chrome Mox. Then they cast Echo of Aeons to recover the resources they spent from their hand. Relying on just Echo of Aeons isn't stable enough, so they also use Gamble. In total, they have 8 cards that can recover resources. After that, they build up Storm and use Burning Wish to find a Storm spell to win. Depending on the opponent's build, they may also combine Echo of Aeons with Hullbreacher, Narset Parter of Veils, or Orcish Bowmasters. Now, let's get into the main topic. These are the Epic Gamble cards that affect Doomsday. This slot varies by player, but it's typically filled with cards that disrupt counter spells. If the opponent is running more colors, they often play Veil of Summer. If they're closer to mono-red, they usually run cards like Defense Grid or Spider-Punk. Since this version is multicolored, I'll proceed under the assumption that they have Veil of Summer. To disrupt their combo or fight through Veil of Summer, I bring in Force of Negation, Flusterstorm, and Duress. In exchange, I take out Personal Tutor, Consider, and Cabal Ritual. This is because their combo is faster, so the plan is to stop their combo once and then go for ours. I also bring in Nihil Spellbomb and Extirpate, but Nihil Spellbomb might not actually be necessary. Because they use Gamble, their combo pieces sometimes end up in the graveyard. But if they don't pass priority and immediately cast Echo of Aeons, you may not be able to use Nihil Spellbomb. In exchange, I take out Cavern of Souls and Swamp. Next, regarding Runhorn Hellkite and Echo of Aeons. If we resolve Doomsday and finish our combo, these cards can be used afterward to deck us out and steal the win. In this matchup, whether your hand, graveyard, and library are at 7 or fewer cards, or 8 or more, is extremely important. Surprisingly, it's actually important to put seemingly unnecessary lands into the graveyard, and Edge of Autumn ends up being useful more often than you'd expect. Lastly, against cards like Orcish Bowmasters, Narset Parter of Veils, and Hullbreacher, I bring in Sheoldred, the Apocalypse. It lets me ignore cards like Orcish Bowmasters and Hullbreacher and still aim for a winning line. And it also lets me combo with the opponent's Echo of Aeons. In exchange, I reduce the number of dazes. This is because their early mana artifact starts make Daze lose its effectiveness very quickly. Even though it doesn't have Doomsday, the rest of the hand is good enough to keep. I'm digging for Doomsday. Surveil's effect leaves it on top of the library. I'm digging for land. Didn't find it, so I shuffle. I'll use discard to check what's ahead. I took out Brainstorm. Surveil's effect leaves it on top of the library. I'm digging for Doomsday. Surveil's effect sends it to the graveyard. I'm going all in. From here, I'll increase the mana needed for the combo. If Echo of Aeons resolves and the total of my hand, graveyard, and library is 7 or fewer, I lose the game. This time, after passing the turn, I expected them to go for Echo of Aeons with protection, so I built a slower pile. But if that prediction is wrong, it's not the optimal pile. Since I already had Thassa's Oracle in my hand, I realized I should have built the pile so I could go off within the first 3 cards. To make use of the fetch land in my hand as an opener, I put a dual land into the pile. Since I already have enough lands, adding Edge of Autumn to the pile prevents the total of my hand, graveyard, and library from dropping to 7 or less after I pitch cast a counter. I think it would have been better to make a pile like dual land Flusterstorm Thassa's Oracle Edge of Autumn Street Wraith. I built the pile as dual land Flusterstorm Thassa's Oracle Duress. I'll counter it with Force of Negation. I'll counter it with Force of Negation. I'll use discard to check what's ahead. I win with Thassa's Oracle. In Game 3, I took out 2 additional Dazes, brought in Hydroblast, and put the Swamp back into the deck. I'll keep this hand since I have 2 pieces of Disruption and can likely stop their early plays. The imprint on Chrome Mox is Dark Ritual. I'll counter it with Force of Will. I'm digging for Doomsday. Didn't find it, so I shuffle. I'm digging for Doomsday. I put them back in the order, Island Thoughtseize. I'll search for Doomsday. I'm going all in. From here, I'll increase the mana needed for the combo. Since Consigned to Memory can occasionally come up, I put 2 copies of Thassa's Oracle into the pile just in case. Since I have a fetch land on the battlefield, I put a dual land into the pile so I can use it as my opener. Since they only have 1 card in hand, if I can find a hard counter with the Ponder in my hand, I shouldn't lose. My hand, graveyard, and library total 8 cards right now, so I probably don't need it, but I'll add Edge of Autumn to the pile just in case. I built the pile as dual land Thassa's Oracle Edge of Autumn Force of Negation. I add Force of Negation to my hand. I win with Thassa's Oracle. Thank you for watching up to this point. I apologize for the many play mistakes. I hope to improve at MTG together with everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to the channel and giving it a thumbs up. See you next time. This is Antya.